Silicon Valley, right? I mean, it's like, it's known for tech and like crazy expensive houses,
Yeah.
$1 million homes, bidding wars, all that. But what if I told you there's like more to it, like hidden spots that are actually affordable?
Yeah, totally. It's true. You got to know where to look. Like, you've got places like Cupertino and Sunnyvale, right? And those are kind of bursting with those high prices, because of all the tech workers and not enough land. But if you look just outside of those spots, it's a different story.
Okay, so like spill the beans.
Right.
For someone who like loves the whole Silicon Valley vibe, but isn't exactly like rolling in dough, what are some of these secret affordable areas?
Well, let's start with East San Jose. Now, while other parts of San Jose might make you want to cry when you see those housing prices, East San Jose is kind of cool. It has this mix of housing, right? Like you've got single-family homes, you've got apartments, and the prices are a bit more, let's say, down to earth.
East San Jose. I have heard some things about certain neighborhoods there, like changing and stuff. Is that what you're talking about?
You got it. Berryessa and Alum Rock, for example, they're seeing like a ton of new development, but the prices are still lower compared to other parts of the city. And here's the best part. Easy commute to all those big tech companies.
So you're not like stuck in traffic forever just to get to work. That's awesome. But what about like the vibe? Is it all like brand new buildings, or is there some, I don't know, personality in these places?
Well, I guess it depends what you're looking for. If you're into that kind of charming, like, village feel, then we got to talk about Willow Glen.
Oh, Willow Glen, yeah. Okay, now we're talking.
Hmm.
I love their downtown, all those cute shops and cafes. It feels like a small town, but you're still like right in Silicon Valley.
And you're so right. It's way more affordable than, say, Palo Alto or Mountain View. Plus, you've got easy access to public transport and, all those big employers. So you're not really giving up convenience to save money.
Okay, so we've got East San Jose for like affordability and being close to things, Willow Glen for like charm and that community feel. But what about like someone who wants more space? Maybe even some of those, those California hill views.
Then we gotta head south, like about 30 miles from downtown San Jose to Morgan Hill.
Morgan Hill. Okay, that makes me think of like vineyards and wineries, not really tech.
You're not wrong. Morgan Hill definitely has that like slower pace, small town vibe and those hills you mentioned. But here's the cool part. Amazing schools, totally family friendly, and you can get a big house for way less than you would in other parts of Silicon Valley.
So it's like a trade-off, right?
Okay.
More space, more peace and quiet, but maybe more time on the road. Wouldn't the commute be a deal breaker if you work in tech?
It depends. Morgan Hill is actually seeing like a little boom of its own, more jobs, new businesses popping up. So some people commute north, yeah, but there are more and more folks working right there in Morgan Hill.
Ah, so it's like its own little world. That's cool. What about someone who's really on a tight budget and wants to be like in the middle of everything? Is there anywhere that's like the best of both worlds?
Absolutely. Let's talk Milpitas. People often overlook it, but it's really diverse, has different kinds of housing, townhomes, apartments, and this is key. It's right next to the Great Mall.
Wait, the Great Mall. So I can have like an affordable place and a giant mall right there. I'm sold.
And don't forget about the commute. Milpitas is well connected to those big highways, so getting to those Silicon Valley tech companies is a breeze.
Okay, so we've got options for convenience, charm, space. But what about someone who really wants to be like right in the center of it all in one of those famous Silicon Valley cities? Is there any hope for them, affordability-wise?
I mean, that's the big question, right? Can you actually find a place in those like Silicon Valley hotspots without, giving up everything? Well, think about Sunnyvale. It's got that suburban life, but it's also like a tech hub, right? Now, the center of Sunnyvale can be pretty pricey, but there's this one area that people don't always think about. The Balins.
Sunnyvale Balins. Okay, so I'm imagining like water, maybe some walking trails.
You're getting close.
Yeah.
The Balins are super peaceful. You've got parks, trails, great schools, which is, huge for families. And here's the kicker. It's way more affordable than other parts of Sunnyvale.
So it's like suburban, but you're still close to everything in Sunnyvale and like all the other cities around it. But is it actually convenient for people working at like Google or Yahoo? Those big companies?
That's the thing. It's practically right next door to those places. You get that like calm suburban vibe, but you can still easily get to the middle of the tech scene. It's kind of the best of both worlds.
Okay, now I'm feeling hopeful. But honestly, even knowing about these like hidden gems, finding an affordable place in Silicon Valley still feels kind of like, I don't know, impossible. Any advice on how to actually deal with this crazy housing market?
For sure. First off, talk to people who know the area, local groups, online forums, that kind of thing. It's like insider info gold. You can learn about neighborhoods, schools, even find places before they're officially listed.
So it's like having like a whole team of local experts helping you out. That makes sense. But I also know there are tons of like websites and tools out there, any that are especially good for people who are watching their budget.
Oh, yeah. Affordability calculators, they might seem kind of scary at first, but trust me, they're awesome. You just plug in your income, expenses, how much you have for a down payment, and they tell you what you can really afford, like for real.
So it's like a reality check before you start looking at places.
Yeah.
That could save a lot of like disappointment later.
Exactly. Helps you stay focused and avoid getting your heart set on something you can't actually swing, And speaking of avoiding heartbreak, you gotta work with a good local real estate agent, someone who really gets affordable housing.
Yeah, sometimes you need that human touch, right? Someone who knows the ins and outs.
Yeah.
But how do you even find an agent who really like gets it? Affordable housing in this market, it's tough.
Ask around. Talk to friends, family, people you work with, especially if they found affordable places themselves. Also, look for agents who are active in those community groups and forums we talked about. They're usually the ones who really know what's going on and understand what people on a budget need.
So you're not just looking for someone who wants to make a big sale. You want someone who wants to actually help people find a place they can afford.
Exactly. Now, we've been talking about specific neighborhoods and like tips and tricks, but we got to talk about the elephant in the room, Silicon Valley's housing situation, like the big picture. It's not just about finding a place, it's about how these crazy high costs affect everyone, the whole community.
Yeah, this has been like a big news story for years now. And it's not just about tech workers trying to find a place to live, right? It's teachers, nurses, people working in restaurants, everyone's feeling it.
And a huge part of the problem, no surprise here, is that there's just not enough housing. Silicon Valley can only grow so much, and a lot of the land is already like covered with houses and buildings, or it's zoned for certain things, so you can't just build whatever you want.
So classic story. Tons of people want to live here and not enough places for them to live, and the prices just keep going up. But what are the like side effects of this whole affordability crisis? I mean, other than the obvious stress of finding a place.
Think about it. When housing is super expensive, it's really hard to attract those like essential workers. The teachers, nurses, firefighters, the folks we need, they can't afford to live where they work.
And then that messes things up for everyone. Not enough teachers, crowded classrooms, longer wait times at the doctor. It's a chain reaction, It's not just about the people looking for houses.
Exactly. And then you've got those long commutes because people can't afford to live close to work. More traffic, more pollution. It's bad for the environment, too.
It's like this whole web of problems, all because of this one issue. So what do we do? Is there any way to fix this, or are we just like doomed to watch those prices keep going up forever?
There's always hope. The key is to fix the root of the problem. Not enough housing. But it's going to take like a multi-pronged approach.
Okay, so break it down. What are those like prongs? What needs to happen to actually change things?
Well, first off, we got to build up, not out. More apartments, more condos, especially in areas that are already developed.
So instead of spreading out, we got to start building taller buildings.
Yeah, I can see how that would use the space we have better.
Exactly. And we also got to get creative with the land we're not really using right now. Like old factory sites, parking lots,
Yeah.
places we can transform.
So you're going to think outside the box, right? See potential for housing in places we wouldn't normally think of. But I bet a lot of people don't like that idea. People get attached to how things are, even if it's not working for everyone. True. People want to keep the character of their neighborhoods, and that's understandable. It's about finding that, like, sweet spot, meeting those housing needs, but also listening to what people in the community are saying.
And that sounds like it could get, like, pretty heated. Are there any, I don't know, programs or policies out there trying to do that? Find that balance?
Totally. There are conversations happening everywhere, local governments, regional groups, even at the state level. People are talking about zoning laws, building incentives, all sorts of things that could help get more houses built.
So it's not just about building more, it's about building smarter and building in a way that's good for everyone.
Right. And that's where you, our listeners, come in. This isn't just something you watch happen, as people who might live in Silicon Valley. You have a say in what happens with affordable housing.
So what can people do? I mean, besides, like, staying informed about all this stuff, can one person really make a difference in a system this big?
Absolutely. Get involved in local politics. Go to city council meetings. Speak up for policies that help create more affordable housing. Support groups that are trying to help people who don't have stable housing. Even small things can make a difference.
It's easy to feel like helpless with a problem this big. But you're right, even just talking about it and raising awareness can start to change things.
And don't forget, you're not alone. There are tons of people, organizations, even some politicians who are really working hard to make Silicon Valley a place where everyone can afford to live.
That's actually really encouraging. So
Yeah.
let's go back to those people who are like actively looking for a place right now. Any like key takeaways they should remember as they start this whole house hunting thing?
Don't be afraid to look beyond the obvious,
Mm.
okay? We talked about some cool neighborhoods that are affordable but still awesome places to live. So get out there, explore, be open to places you might not have thought about before.
It's like we've given you a treasure map.
Right.
But you got to be willing to like go off the main road to find that treasure.
You got it. And don't forget the power of talking to people, tap into that local knowledge, connect with folks who actually live in these neighborhoods, join those online groups, ask questions. The more you talk to people, the better your chances of finding those hidden gems.
So it's about using the like wisdom of the crowd, not just relying on those algorithms and
Yeah.
listings. Right.
And lastly, be patient. Finding the right place in Silicon Valley takes time, especially when you're on a budget. But if you have the right approach, use the right resources, and don't give up, you can find it.
That's a good point. It's a reminder that even in a crazy market like Silicon Valley, finding a place to call home is possible.
Yeah.
So before we wrap up, I want to leave you with a question to think about. So out of all the places we talked about today, which one like really got you thinking?
Hmm.
Which one felt like it could be, your spot in Silicon Valley?
Yeah. And why that one? What is it about that neighborhood that just clicks with how you want to live, what's important to you, your whole Silicon Valley dream, right?
It's like we showed you these different little worlds inside Silicon Valley, and now it's like your turn to choose.
Exactly. And remember, this is just the starting point. We're just trying to, get you curious, give you some ideas so you can go out and explore more on your own.
So yeah, dive into those neighborhoods that like caught your eye. Look at some listings online, take those virtual tours, maybe even plan a trip, like spend a weekend there and just soak it all in.
And don't be afraid to think beyond the specific places we talked about today. Use those, those tips and tricks we gave you, those resources, and just trust your gut. You might find a hidden gem that we didn't even mention.
Because at the end of the day, finding the perfect spot in Silicon Valley is like a personal thing. It's about making your dreams fit with, how the market really is. And sometimes that means going off the beaten path a little bit.
And remember, affordable doesn't have to mean giving up on what you want. Whether you're into that, that energy of East San Jose, the chill vibes of Willow Glen, that wide open feel of Morgan Hill, the convenience of Milpitas, or that perfect balance in Sunnyvale's Baylands, there's a place for you somewhere in Silicon Valley.
So go out there, explore, and find your own little piece of Silicon Valley heaven.
And hey, maybe you'll find a neighborhood that no one's even talking about yet. Who knows?
That's what's so cool about Silicon Valley, right?
Yeah.
There's always something new to discover. All right, until next time, happy house hunting, everyone.